Hello, my name is Jay, and I am your host for the RetroMilitia podcast. I'm also the web designer and one of the few contributors to RetroMilitia.com. This is a site that lets all retro gamers come together and share their enthusiasm for classic video games, with hanging out with current and former soldiers, and also the RetroMilitia crew. So Kyle, Alan, Dan, and our latest member, Matt, and of course, myself. Together, we are working to promote gaming through a positive social network where military members and gamers have a sense of belonging. So, I welcome you. Today is our first episode of the RetroMilitia podcast, and I am super excited to be here as another way to connect with you, the fans, and allows me to come out of my shell as an introvert. So, please feel free to provide constructive feedback about this podcast on either Facebook, RetroMilitia, or on Twitter at RMMilitia2. So, what is this podcast about? Well, each month I will talk about a variety of topics, starting with RetroMilitia's last monthly challenge, where we will pick a game or a franchise. We'll set up some rules to get that mood of friendly competition, and then we'll share our progress for fans. Not only will I discuss how each of the members of the RetroMilitia crew did during that month, but I'll also chat about some historical and some interesting facts about that game that we played. And then after, we'll get into a segment I like to call the Sandy's area. This is where I will reach out to current or former soldiers who were willing to share a story. It could be funny, reflective, or something that they just need to get off their chest. So whatever it may be, it is important to hear that story, to remind us that we're all human and we can learn and laugh together through storytelling. And then after, we will dive into a segment I like to call "What the fuck do we have here?" or "WTF do we have here?" This is where I will discuss different artifacts that are either military and or retro gaming oriented, providing you with a brief history of these artifacts, how they came to be, then talk about some personal experiences that I might have with them, and share anything else that's interesting about them. Yeah. And then lastly, I will conclude with this podcast with some personal thoughts, announce the winner of the RetroMilitia's last month's challenge, and I will give you the inside scoop of next month's challenge. So you have to stay tuned. All right. Oh yeah. And if you haven't checked our website yet, then please take a moment to visit our website, RetroMilitia.com, and leave some comments on our articles, because the authors on here who have created these rated articles have done it on their own time, just to share the love for the games. So hook us up, share some love. Also, don't forget to say hello to us on our social media sites as well. Okay, so let's get started. So we have segment 1, which we like to call the Legend of Zelda Challenge. Okay, so this challenge, so the first thing I have to admit, I had never played Legend of Zelda until I came out with this challenge, and I actually have never owned a Nintendo console at all until the Wii. It was a Christmas present for my kids, as the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 at the time were really orientated to first-person shooter platforms like Call of Duty and Division and stuff like that. So they were kind of not very kid-friendly. So anyways, I guess I kind of missed out on the golden era of Nintendo, where it was almost in every household. But so we were a Sega Genesis household, and then we transitioned over to Sony PlayStation after. So I didn't go without. I just wasn't Nintendo. Oh, I did actually forget. I did have a Game Boy, the green screen and everything like that, like 4D batteries, as you probably already know. But I still hadn't played Legend of Zelda. I do remember the hype around Legend of Zelda. There was tons of kids at school talking about it. Lots of magazines with playthroughs and tips and tricks. It was everywhere back in the day. So I guess maybe I guess my curiosity got the better of me for this game, and I took advantage of creating a challenge so that I can play the game and have that kind of nostalgic feeling with sharing my thoughts of the game. So for those who have not played Legend of Zelda, the first thing I have to say is shame on you. That means you didn't play our monthly challenge. That's okay. I get it. Sometimes we don't get the time. We just, life gets in the way. Kids, work. It's fine. These challenges are again just friendly competitions and nothing too hardcore. So no hard feelings. It would just poke a bit of fun. Anyways, this is a game. It's an action adventure game with an open world concept, which I was surprised about how large the scale of the map was. And if you didn't have the 45-page manual that came with it, or the use of the internet, it would be super difficult to find the different hidden items throughout the game that you needed to proceed through the game. So fortunately, I had the convenience of the internet to look up playthroughs. However, if this was 1986 when this originally released, I'd probably still be looking for the wooden sword that's in the cave on the first scene. That's just me. No, I'm kidding. That being said, when I put this challenge out, I noticed that some of the guys were really stoked about this, and I was a bit concerned, as I think I was going to have a disadvantage to this. So this was Kyle and Alan. But to my surprise, Kyle and Alan were having their own challenge with the game. Kyle was finding out himself wandering around the map. And he couldn't remember where the dungeons were. He paraphrasing him, from Kyle's Legend of Zelda post on RetroMilitia. He's like, I think starting out, he admitted that he was feeling really confident, but right away he wanted to inform everyone that confidence kind of went and left him thinking that this was probably going to be a long and probably a difficult challenge. So during the first hour of that stream that night, he realized he didn't remember where the game that well as he thought, but as he settled down and he continued to play, killing enemies, collecting rupees, and eventually stumbling across the first dungeon, he started feeling that the nostalgic feeling and craving more. And I agree. I was in the same boat, and I must say I was impressed with Kyle's stream. He was more faithful to working throughout the problems than I was. I think I got through the first dungeon before referring to walkthroughs for some of these things. So sorry, Kyle. And I even had help on the first dungeon from a fan when I was streaming. So oops. And Alan was in the same boat. He was dying every 5 minutes, he was saying. He felt like he wasn't meeting the expectations of being the main character, the main hero. So I guess overall, the Retro crew is a little rusty on this action adventure game, but like all importance of this, we had fun. So after 34 years from the first release, when this was first released, this Legend of Zelda still holds true up to being one of the most popular games of all times, selling over 9 million copies, and is followed by multiple sequels. I think the latest one was on the Nintendo Switch, and this has one of the biggest fan bases. It's made Nintendo so successful. And if you were like me and never played The Legend of Zelda, I'll give you a quick backstory, and this is super quick. This is the Cole's Notes. It's based on an elf character named Link. You're set out on a quest to save Princess Zelda and the Kingdom of Hyrule. You have to by collecting the 8 pieces of the Triforce in order to defeat Ganon, a evil warlord, and that's pretty much it. Simple yet a long journey. So the last month's challenge the rules were kind of like were a bit tense, but still fairly easy to gain. You just had to read and understand what had to be going. So I know that everyone could participate, and it was just the subscribers that had the chance to win the T-shirt. But you could still participate. That was the important thing. You had to use the RetroArch variant of the game, or like RetroArch, RetroPie, or RetroMilitia console. And then you had to make sure that you had a RetroArchievements.org login. That way, you create a login, link it to the RetroArch or Retro Achievements, and then you can gain the points, because that's where the majority of these points were. Very important to have. And then yeah, so if you need to know how to do that, there is a RetroArch how-to, and same with Retro Achievements that I created on the site. You just have to search for it using those key terms. And you had to get as far into the game as possible within the month. So from beginning of April to the end of April. What else? So how we determine the winner. So we came up with a point system. I went with 5 points per dungeon for first and second quests. So you're looking at 45 points for the first quest, and then 45 points for the second quest, which, so you're looking at 90 points. And then majority of the points came from retro achievements. That's why it was so important to get. It's so important to get this, because there were 69 achievements for a total of, I think, 800 points. So if you didn't have that, you probably wouldn't have a chance of being the winner of this. Also, some gimmies was, to follow myself, Kyle, and Alan on Twitch, and then that was an easy 10 points. And then posting a selfie on our Facebook group page, using the hashtag #RMZeldaChallenge, and that was an easy 5 points. So you can get over 100 points fairly easy. Well, not easy. You have to complete that. But I will reveal the top Link player in our Zelda Challenge and who was the winner of the Zelda Challenge t-shirt at the end of the show. So stay tuned. So that's the end of segment 1. So segment 2, the Stand Easy area. I was happy to see a friend who served with me in both Bosnia and Afghanistan. He was the first one to volunteer the story I call a pain in the ass. Him and I served in 2 service time, starting our careers, both as a vehicle technician. And I always look forward to working with Will, as he was an easygoing guy I can get along with. He had a fun personality. He comes up with tons of stories, and he could entertain a crowd of people. So it was a very sad moment for me to see him go and retire. So that was a bit sad. But I guess when we deployed together in Bosnia, we served on Operation Palladium. This was a part of the National Support Element unit, and that unit supported all the combat forces in Bosnia-Herzegovina. This operation was a major NATO international operation. There are efforts to help reshape the Bosnia as a democratic European nation, and specifically we were there to deter and respond to violence, thus to provide a secure environment for the people, to continue with peace and promote a climate in which the peace process can be made without the presence of NATO forces eventually, which successfully happens, and it's awesome. It's great. It's a great story. So while we were stationed at Velikoduša, or we like to call VK, soldiers from National Support Element would regularly go on like a 10-kilometer route, a run route, to a castle that was situated to the VK camp. And we always used to comment how it seemed like we're running uphill both ways, because the start and at the end of this route was a steep climb, and there was a gully, so you're always running uphill or downhill. So Will, he remembered as he started off, he's getting his ass bit by a dog while running the route out of the castle, and I do remember this. The running route had farms and homes. It wasn't highly dense populated, and so these farms had wild dogs. And I remember this backstory here before we get to Will's story. Is a small group of us would always go running, part of our PT, to keep us fit, healthy, run there all the time. And it progressively got worse with these dogs over the course of the tour. So we had to start. At first, we would start yelling at these dogs, and they were, that was enough. And then they progressively got braver to chasing us, and so we had to start picking up rocks and tossing them in their general vicinity to deter these dogs to run away. We didn't want to hurt them, but we just wanted to scare them. The unfortunate thing is you have to do this twice. You have to run past, go to the castle, and come back the same way. So yeah, you had to do this twice. So I guess towards the end of the tour, people were getting stir crazy, and this is one of the only ways that people could get out of the camp rather than being on a mission. This is one of the only ways. So people started taking on running as a way of just getting out of the camp. So one group that I remember, Will and his situation, was fairly large. So we started together, and of course dogs were coming through. But I remember we were far enough ahead. We tossed these rocks and they scared them off. And then I guess Will didn't see them or something. But when we came back, the group was spread out far enough that this is where Will confronted these dogs, and he was with someone else that were afraid of dogs, actually. So he actually hung back with them in the end of the pack with this soldier, because we talked about them. So when he was keeping an eye on them, he was running backwards, kind of like just. And then I guess this other soldier somehow was distracting Will, and he talking to him, and he turned around to talk to him. I guess that's when one of these dogs actually got up to Will and bit him in the leg. So this is where Will's story goes downhill, because explaining how his bite on his calf became dog sinking his teeth in his ass. So Will got back. I explained what happened, and Will was ordered by his boss to go see the medical staff. And so it was decided at the time by the medical staff, Will was going to have to get an inoculation and a vaccination, and they had to prep for this. So they had to clean the wound. So when the medic was doing this, I guess the doctor walked by and he said, I guess there was this was payment, I guess, of some smart ass remark that Will made weeks earlier. the doctor decided that the wound needed more cleaning, and so he proceeded to direct the medic to use hard bristle brush to scrub it and really get in there and make sure it's clean. So this half inch bite turns into this 4-inch raw patch of raw skin. But Will was like, he was determined to keep talking to the doctor, and the doctor got so annoyed that he left. And every time he walked by, Will could see the doctor walk by, he would start pleading to the medic, "No, stop. I guess this, Will was just poke. Though Will found out after a while this wasn't going to be fun, because the 2 needles were going in the wound to saturate it, and he needed another wound. The sergeant was going to give this third shot, and he informed them that it had to go in the muscle. So Will's like rolling up his sleeve, and the sergeant's like, "Nope." So I guess Will ended up getting the shot right in the right butt cheek and then the funny thing is he feels this light sensation of circular on his butt, and all Will does is turn around and look over his shoulder, goes, "What are you doing?" It's so nonchalantly. I can see Will doing this. This is funny. I guess and the sergeant's like, "Shut up." Pressure there on this. The reason why I'm doing this is to stop the muscle from cramping. And Will's like, "Hey, you're the sergeant." Which I guess the sergeant replies is, "Corporal, if you start going around and telling people that I'm rubbing your ass, I tell you." And Will's like, "Well," reassured him that he had nothing to worry about. That it was just as embarrassing for him. Though 2 days later, Will presents the sergeant some flowers and a card in the common area, which is like a high school cafeteria where people hang out, thanking him for such a gentle touch. So I laughed. I could see Will doing this in front of everyone, and this sergeant getting super embarrassed. This is such a great start of an example of how soldiers take a potentially scary situation into a laughable one with using sense of humor, and that's how soldiers get through things. And even after 16 years, I still remember this story, and I was glad that Will for sharing that story from our tour experience. It was entertaining. So, segment 3. So, some information. I want to know if one of you guys could figure out what March Past this is. If you know it, tag me on our RetroMilitia Facebook group, or you can tag me on on Twitter, RMMilitia2. If you know it, tell me what song it is and which element this is for. It's a fairly easy one. Most people should get it if you're Army. So, today's random articles are Commander's Officers coins, or SEALs coins, and then the arcade coin. When I compare these two, they're polar opposites in collections, where SEALs coins are cherished, displayed as part of a soldier's career, and while arcade coins or tokens were designed to literally be given away, spent. So let me explain. So SEALs coins are part of a tradition that could be loosely traced back to the ancient Rome, where enlisted soldiers were monetarily rewarded with for valor. Excuse me. If a soldier performed well that day, he would receive his typical pay, and he would also get a separate coin for bonus. I guess some accounts say that this coin was specially minted with a mark of like the legion from which he came from, and then prompting these men to hold on to these coins as a momentum rather than spending them on women and wine that night. So interesting. Today in the Canadian Armed Forces, SEALs coins have kind of become a mainstream thing to thank soldiers. I kind of seen this trend started around the time of former Chief Defense Staff, retired General Rick Hillier. He was an advocate for promoting soldiers' welfare, and with the Afghanistan War, there was lots of moments of bravery and lots of hard workers. It was easy to justify recognition. So I guess consequently, this became every CO now in each unit in different commands, and even sergeant majors now have their own coins to give out their soldiers who have gone beyond the call of duty. So I'm going to show you some examples. So this is my first example here. If you can see here, they're all usually round. Majority of them. Some have different edges. This is kind of like a very aggressive looking one, and they're usually double-sided and everything. So this one was given to me. This is probably one of the first ones I've gotten from the former Chief Defense Staff, after retired General Reculier, from retired General Natinchuk. He had given this to me after one of the missions I did with as a close protection operator, protecting him and his detail on a visit. When we got back, we had small talk and stuff, and he did not know that I was a vehicle technician, and my buddy that was also on the team, he was I think A-frame technician. He was a hard blue technician trade. So I guess for Natinchuk at the time was kind of I guess taken back between, I guess, professionalism and just not knowing that we were like more like support trades rather than combat arms trades, that he was impressed and I guess presented us this coin, which really surprised us because it wasn't no parade. It was a handshake and a gesture. It was a very good gesture, and I cherish this one not because it was CDS, but just because of the randomness almost of just, you know. And this was like before it got super mainstream. The other one I could show you was when I was offered to be the Jiffy Jeep commander when I was stationed in Gagetown. I was a sergeant at the time, and we were down in the Virginia International Tattoo, and I was in an after party, and the director, so this is from the Canadian Forces Supervisor of Music. Well, I'm not a musician, but they saw our performance, and we were one of the only few. I think we were that year we were the only Canadian Armed Forces representative. For some reason, the bands were not there, budget cuts or something, but we managed to be there. So he was impressed with the performance of the team, and he presented this to me. So I cherished this one too, because the crew were awesome. I still remember them. I still remember Tony, Dan. Brain fart. Oh yeah, Dan, Brad. So and I and the rest of the guys, they were great. They were great. So that was a great memento. And the last one I'll show you today is this one here. This is probably one of the later ones I got in my career. I was a warrant officer when I got this. And I was a part of Camp Build as Camp DSM for Maple Resolve 2017. And if you're not well versed with that, Maple Resolve is a large exercise to establish our brigade's readiness level. Not for tours, but just for readiness level command. Anyways, it's usually a few months long. It takes more additional months to get ready. And the thing about this is one of the biggest camps built in preparation for this exercise, which I think At the Prime, we housed over or close to 6,000 troops, not only from Canada but from the States, from Great Britain and Australia, and I think even New Zealand at the time. So well-diverse camp, a well-diverse weather pattern in Wainwright. If you don't know, it was a super challenge setting up that time because in March the ground was still frozen. We were breaking pegs, or we were breaking hammers, and we had a windstorm that were knocking half the tents that we had set up in the preliminary setup. So I guess I look at it as, even though all that happened, the perseverance of the crew that was there did a great job, and we worked together to pull it off. So this one and this one were probably the most cherished ones I have, because team effort, teamwork. I was just lucky enough to be the person running the boat. It was the guys that made the effort and made it happen. So I keep them to remember them and their hard efforts. So yeah. So that's the funny thing about, not the funny thing, that's the importance of these. So now getting into arcade coins, I call it polar opposites because it was designed to get rid of. It was designed to, you convert your money into these tokens. You could spend them in an arcade, and the owner would get like the entire dollar, and you psychologically would spend it because you don't feel like you're spending real money. You're just dumping these tokens in. Yeah, and they were made so that you could only spend them in one arcade, so you have to go back to them even if you didn't spend it all. So you're enticed to go back, and it would keep employees honest because they wouldn't steal these coins because there's no monetary value to them. So, and it would even help with preventing these coins jamming the coin slots of these arcade systems, because they weren't getting abused as much and used like the quarters were at the time. So I don't have examples. I apologize, but I thought it was kind of funny how you look at coins from Army and retro gaming, how they're similar, because you can look at it now as when I was searching for this, there was a site that actually collects these arcade coins now. So kind of funny that something you would give away is now being collected. So anyway, that's it for WTF do we have here. So in closing, next month's challenge, as you probably already guessed, is involving Star Wars. And considering that 4th of May is Star Wars Day, and being one of the most beloved sci-fi franchises in modern day cinema, I thought this was a suitable challenge. And I know that the Retro crew and our subscribers are going to be going geeky over this challenge. So in the spirit of May the 4th be with you, coming up, RetroMilitia wants to give wants you to share your most favorite Star Wars game. And the rules are easy. Everyone can participate. All you have to do is share your opinion on either Twitch or Facebook, with either using hashtag best Star Wars game or hashtag May the 4th be with you, with our hashtag RetroMilitia. You will be registered for the challenge. And yeah, the challenge is a month long, from May 1st to the 31st, and we are encouraging you to play as many Star Wars games to rekindle that memory and stuff, because I have that memory. Well, it doesn't matter which game, which console you play. It's just to rehash that and then give your opinion. All right. So I don't know what. So what will happen is, when you share your opinion, the best opinions shared on these social medias, we'll get the RetroMilitia crew to look at them and decide which one's the top 3, and we'll announce. I will announce that winner on the next episode at the end. So stay tuned. Okay. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I am your host, Jay, and I'm super stoked that this is happening, and I look forward to having you on the next episode of Episode 2 Star Wars Challenge. All right, so retro on and have fun.